Bang, bang. What's up, guys? Lunch money time. While Wall Street's trying to get rich, the rest of us just trying to get our lunch money right. I'm here with the beautiful and intelligent Polina Marinova. I have put her through hell already this morning. Lots of great things I've been doing to annoy her. But she's here.
One of them being he went and wet his hair, and I don't know what you did to it, but it's like dripping water.
Ooh, your boy got the cut last Friday
Just
and
so
is
he
ready to go.
Look like this.
I might start putting gel in it. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you think I should gel this bad boy up in the future. All right, let's get into BlockFi is the new sponsor. You guys thought I was going to miss a sponsor today, but no. It's Monday. I'm on top of my game. BlockFi is the sponsor. Short story, get money, get paid. They've got 3 products. You can deposit crypto. They'll give you US dollar loan. You can buy and sell crypto, or my favorite product, I'm an investor and a user, is to deposit crypto and earn up to 8.6% APY. You can't get that anywhere else. Polina hears me brag about BlockFi pretty much every single day. Hey, anybody who helps me get rich, I'm into it. Let's get our lunch money right. BlockFi, go check them out. Click on the link in the description. What?
Can I tell the people what you put me through this morning?
No, let's do a couple of news stories first. Then we can talk about my intelligence. What's going on with the unemployment error?
There was a misclassification error that made the May unemployment rate look better than it actually was. So
they reported
a major error.
13 point something percent unemployment, which meant that there was a 2.5 million jobs created in May. But wait, whoops, we don't know how to count. Instead, the actual unemployment rate is closer to 17%. It's 16 point whatever percent. It's 300 basis points higher. Why? Because they can't count. But the best part is they literally put in a report saying that they were wrong.
Basically, they missed the furloughed people, right?
Yeah, we're just not going to count the people who are unemployed. You know, we'll make the number look better than it actually is. Don't forget, people, stay educated, pay attention. It's all a sham. There's tens of millions of people without work. They can make it seem like things are getting better. Look outside. Doesn't look better to me. What's going on with Palantir?
So Palantir, you may know it as Peter Thiel's secretive kind of data defense. I don't even know what they do. They're just like a very secretive data analytics company. So the UK government gave Palantir access to sensitive medical records of COVID-19 patients do you know how much they give it? Well, you just saw it. For £1.
€1. Is that a pound or a euro?
That is a pound.
It's a pound?
Yes.
The pound signal looks weird.
Okay.
Symbol, not signal. Symbol. Yeah, look, I don't know what's going on here, but anytime that you see a transaction where there's sensitive medical data being handed over for literally
to
£1,
a private company,
not a million, not a billion, not 100 pounds, £1, like the equivalent of $1.
About this because the data includes personal contact details, gender, race, occupation, physical and mental health conditions, past criminal offenses, as well as religious and political affiliation. I have a feeling this is something for like a contact tracing situation.
Yeah, this doesn't look so hot.
It doesn't look great.
All the details are not out. This recently was published on an open democracy type website where they try to publish the information that they see in these government contracts and things like that. What I will say is huge win for the open source, open data type movement because they basically are exposing this. This doesn't look so great on the British government because they seem to just be handing over all the data.
I don't think that's right. Also, what is my past
You don't think it's right?
What is if I'm a COVID patient, what does my past criminal record have to do with me being a COVID patient?
I agree with you. And I think you said not right, meaning not I was wrong, but like this is wrong that they're
situation.
Doing. Yeah. So I think we're both on the same page. Like they shouldn't be doing this. My guess, though, is that what a data analytics firm wants to do is give me as much data as you possibly can. And then I'll sift through all those variables and try to find interesting kind of tidbits in the data. So what they probably are asking for is give me every piece of public information that you have on this individual, plus all of their health data. So one of the databases where you would get public information on somebody is their criminal background.
how is it possible that the government can just sell that data to a private American company?
Well,
whose customers include the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. Army.
So two of the things that I think are interesting is, one, I'm not as familiar with the UK and kind of what their standards are. So in the United States, there's all kinds of health privacy type things in place. I'm assuming that there's those in the UK, but that would be one question I have. And the second thing that is somewhat concerning is, are these people aware that their data has been sold? Right. So if all of a sudden,
they don't.
Well, if all of a sudden you said to me, hey, one, there's not as many privacy concerns or privacy kind of barriers in place. And two, every single one of these patients somewhere signed to agree to do this. That's a different story. I do not believe that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Right. I think that this was actually done kind of more covertly, but obviously it's been exposed. And then just super, super shady when any transaction is done for $1 or £1.
It's just basically free, but.
Yeah, this isn't good. I mean, look, we all kind of know that this is happening. The infringement on our privacy, on our civil liberties in times of crisis. That's what happens. What better thing to do than say, hey, give me all this information and I'll try to help you prevent the next outbreak, or I'll try to help you curve this outbreak. Just kind of very, very, very scary world. But I'm glad that open source type data information got it out there. It's pretty good. All right, what's going on with disband the police? This is my favorite story right now.
Okay. In a historic move, the Minneapolis City Council has pledged to disband the city's police department and replace it with a new system of public safety. So that's interesting. First of all, what's the difference between, I'm seeing a lot of disband versus defund. What's the difference?
Again, I'm not an expert on law enforcement funding, but the main issue here is, look, there are massive protests going on right now over two things: racism and police brutality. They're interconnected. We don't have to go into the details. You guys all are kind of aware of that. There are many movements of what to do now. So it's, hey, we've identified a problem. How do we solve that problem? One of the solutions is do nothing. That doesn't seem like a very popular one. Another solution is to defund, which basically means to take away some of the funding. So you're not breaking up the police. You're not saying we're not going to give you $0. But in New York City, for example, I think the budget for either 2021 or 2020 was $6 billion for the police. If all of a sudden, I believe de Blasio has already said that he's going to take $1 billion away. So now they have $5 billion rather than $6 billion, right? So more than or a little less than 20% is going to get taken away. The idea is if they have less budget, then they can't go buy all of the toys, right? They can't go buy the tanks and all this crazy stuff that they have.
Where do they keep these tanks?
Oh, in warehouses and on the street, like literally they park them on the street sometimes.
Really? I've never seen a tank in New York City.
Well, you're thinking of like a tank with a track. These are like mine-resistant armored vehicles. They're called MRAPs. Okay. But the whole idea is if they have less money, then they can buy less weapons and gear and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of defunding the police at the most watered down version. There are some people who actually believe, hey, we should just cut most of the funding. Yeah. So like not 15%, but like let's just cut 90%. And then there's the people who go the farthest who say, let's disband literally, let's say we have a police department. We're going to fire everybody. We're going to get rid of the police. The Minneapolis City Council has actually voted to go do this, which is wild. They want to just get rid of the police department. They do have a plan, and I put that in air quotes, to come up with a public safety type thing. My guess is what they're going to say is like, hey, if you call 911, there's the first group of people who respond to something come without guns, right? They're there to de-escalate situations, to act more as like a referee than they are to show up with guns and all the weaponry. Then if you need kind of people to show up with guns, then there's some ability to get to that. But it's more about like the rehabilitation of the community, more about public service. What do you think about this before I say what I think about this?
Well, okay. Obviously, I am not a fan of completely abolishing the police department, because what are you going to do in situations of domestic abuse, theft, robbery, all that stuff that we need police for? But I could be in favor of reforming it in some way and coming up. So I was trying to find it, but anyway, I read this article about Camden, New Jersey, I believe it was, and how in the last 7 years they've kind of completely restructured their police force, and the police brutality complaints or calls, cases have gone down 95%. So I thought that was interesting.
So one, you're dead on. If you want to disband the police, you better be singing the praises of the Second Amendment from the tops of mountains, because either you call people with guns or you have a gun to defend yourself. There's no in between. We do not want to live in a world where people don't own weapons and you can't call anybody to show up with a weapon. Because like you said, domestic abuse, any sort of violence, robbery, all that kind of stuff, because it's a criminal's like dream. All of a sudden, the people can't defend themselves and they can't call anyone to defend themselves for them. Like what? Of course, there's going to be a lot of crime. What you're talking about is police reform, which is they didn't take away funding in many cases. They didn't disband the police. Instead, they changed it. So these are rules around, they say something like 50% of the police, and I'm making this up, but just directionally, this is correct. 50% of the police force has to live in the districts that they police. So if, let's take Manhattan, for example, if you are going to be a police officer in the Bronx, over 50% of the people policing the Bronx have to live in the Bronx. And the idea is
important? Yeah.
Well, the idea is like you're policing your community, right? These are the people you live among. This is not, hey, I live in, the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And then, for work, I go to the Bronx, and like, I can treat those people differently than the people I would treat in my local community.
Because it makes it more of like a community feeling. The people, they're your neighbors, essentially.
Of course. So like that's one piece of police reform. A second piece of police reform, which again, there's a lot of debate on the efficacy of this, was to put body cameras on police officers. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of studies that show the body cameras don't actually lead to less police brutality. There's questions as to whether officers are actually turning them on or not, whatever. But like, there's all kinds of things you can do to reform. But the biggest reform, and it's becoming quite clear, I think, in the data, is the police unions. Like there are example after example after example where a police officer has somebody file a complaint around police brutality. That complaint, the officer is disciplined in some form or fashion, whether it's they're fined, they're suspended, they're fired, whatever. The police union steps in and says, you can't do that. And they become incredibly aggressive in how to get that officer reinstated. And so it's kind of like the people who are the bad apples are actually the ones that the police unions protect the most, right? Because they don't need to step in and protect the good guys. They step in and protect the guys who are getting fired and suspended and all that kind of stuff. Last thing I'll say about this, did you hear what happened in Minneapolis when there was a representative, I forget if he was a city council member or something else. He wanted to, I think it was just police reform. I don't think he actually wanted to disband the police, but he wanted to reform the police. And all of a sudden he started to get reports that from his constituents that when they would call 911, the police would take forever to get there. And they would ask the police, yo, what's going on? Why are you taking so long? And they say, go ask your representative. So they were intentionally slowing their response to the constituents of a specific district because they didn't agree with the reform policies of the representative. That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
I will say though, I think for years there's been a lot of journalism done and in-depth article, investigative articles, etc., and no real reform, no changes have happened. But in the wake of all the protests, I mean, they're disbanding the police. Like there's real material changes happening. And do you think that's because just of the uproar of the people's?
Well, so we should be clear. I believe, and again, this is all kind of a moving target because it's happening so quickly. I believe that the mayor of Minneapolis has stepped up and said he's rejecting this proposal from the Minneapolis City Council. So it's kind of like a veto power, it sounds like. So he's actually saying, no, we are not going to disband the police. We'll see how it plays out. That's something that just got reported. The second thing to your point is there are reports again, and I was looking this morning trying to confirm it, that the chief of police and like his second in command in New York City, the NYPD, is stepping down. Both the chief of police and the second in command are going to step down, and 300 to 800 police officers on the NYPD are going to seek early retirement like almost immediately.
Wow.
And basically what happens is like, look, there's no winners in this, right? The people feel like the police brutality is, there's racism, there's targeting, there's all these things. By the way, look at the videos. Like the police are literally beating unarmed citizens in the streets. You can say that there's a reason for them to do it or not, but that's what's happening, right? And then from the police officers, a lot of them feel like they're in a impossible situation. right? They're like, look, like we're trying to do our jobs. We just want to keep our community safe and go home. But again, they feel like the media has it out for them. They feel like people are targeting them now. And so you get two groups that are diabolically opposed to each other. They're in conflict. And now you got police officers who are just going to say, look, this is not worth this job anymore, right? And so ultimately, what we see is, look, protests lead to change.
Not always. I think there have been protests before, but they haven't been this effective.
So we can argue on how effective, but in many cases there is change. What you can argue is, was it the right type of change, right? So like Camden Police, for example, they made changes. So it might not happen on a national level, but in certain communities it happens. And then the second thing, and this is the crazier part, is I continue to say the number one thing that the protesters should do, right? The protest in general across the country, is they should come forward with very specific asks. Yeah. So saying, hey, we want justice, right? Justice is so hard to say, did we accomplish that or did we not? I think
now one of the asks is defund or disband the police.
Again, those are such big leaps that there's a lot of things you can ask for from here to there. So there are some proposals that I've seen, like there's like these 8 steps, and I forget the name of exactly what it is, but there's 8 specific asks of the police of what people should do. To me, that is much better because you're really negotiating. You're using the protest as a negotiating tool with the state, right? Or in the state being the government. So if you come to the table with specific asks, then you have a point of leverage. Say, I want you to reduce the police budget by 30%, and I want you to commit to having 50% of officers live in their district, and I want you to commit to no longer taking weapons of war and putting them on our streets.
I think that it started with outrage, in anger and frustration, and then as it evolves, I think people will come together and figure out exactly what they want.
Completely agree. And I think that we're actually headed that way. And I think that we will get solutions out of this. The question is, how big are those improvements? And also how effective are they? But I do not think that there's going to be a national movement to disband the police across communities. Like, I just think that's kind of outside the bounds of what's going to happen.
All right.
Agreed?
Yes.
Nice. Bang, bang.
Just wait till I tell you what he did this morning.
Go ahead. Starship Rocket.
So Starship, Elon Musk is telling his SpaceX employees that its Starship rocket is his top priority now. And so if you don't know, the Starship rocket aims to be fully reusable and launch as many as 100 people at a time on missions to the moon and Mars. Guess who I will be launching to the moon the first opportunity I have to do so?
Me. I'll go. I don't care. See ya. This is cool because most other people, they just launched 2 humans to space. They would be celebrating. They would be all stuff. Elon's already on to the next thing. Cool. We figured out how to do that. We're going to have to continue to do that well. But at the same time, let's figure out this next rocket that's much bigger and can launch 100+ people.
Do you think that Richard Branson is kind of watching from afar and like, oh,
I think Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos both are.
Fun fact, I once interviewed Richard Branson and asked him about Elon Musk, and he said he feels like he's like his little brother, like he sees a younger version of himself in him.
Wait, Richard Branson thinks that Elon Musk is his little brother?
Like he sees him like a younger version of himself.
Well, Elon Musk is like, hey, dude, I got a bigger company, so like maybe you should step your game up.
So yeah, so what do you think this like?
I think this is smart.
Of course it's smart.
It's fully reusable. It can launch as many as 100 people. It can be used over and over again. And it's supposed to bring people to the moon and to Mars.
Okay,
awesome.
But
let's
like,
go figure it out.
When is that going to happen? When is he going to be able to launch 100 people to the moon?
Well, he just launched 2, so he's 2%
Not
of the
to
way
the moon.
there. No, but he could have gone to the moon, right? Listen, anybody who bets against Elon Musk is dumb, right? And I understand all the arguments against some of the companies and stuff like that, but like, the man and his team, right? Because it's not just him, it's his team, continue to innovate at a rate that we just aren't seeing from other companies. So like, I'm long Elon Musk.
Would you rather go to the moon or to Mars?
I'd rather go to Mars.
Really?
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
That's not true. I just saw a photo of a volcano that has ice water on it. And Musk even tweeted and said, there's actually a lot of ice water on Mars. Just saying. Speaking of, let's go to Joe Exotic. What's going on there?
Joe Exotic is not doing well in prison. I really thought that.
Shocker.
No, but I really thought he would be.
He wasn't doing well in society either.
Yeah, but I really thought once he saw that Carol Baskin's husband's will was likely forged, I thought he'd feel a little bit
No, he's in prison. Nobody cares about other people's problems. They only care about their own.
So Joe Exotic wrote this letter that's kind of disturbing, saying that he's at the end of his rope and might not be around much longer if he doesn't get some immediate help from President Trump, Cardi B, or Kim Kardashian. He really knows who to call, man.
Yeah, he's really reaching into his bag of tricks, trying to do whatever he possibly can.
He's saying my soul is dead. He's saying allegedly that he's not getting the treatment and meds for his health conditions that he needs in prison.
His husband or ex-husband is out partying and he's not allowed to participate.
Wait, is that what it said? I didn't see that.
Well, it's because I read the internet. Everyone knows that's where I get my information from. And yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Oh, I'd be so mad if I was in prison and you were out partying. Oh, Lord, have mercy on your soul.
I'd be sending you Instagram DMs saying, look at this cool thing that I'm doing.
I wouldn't have Instagram because I'd be in prison.
Well, they'll just rack up until you get out. When you get out, you can just see a whole timeline of all the fun I had while you were gone.
Okay.
Let's do the lunch money winner. Then you can tell your story. I did some epic stuff today, guys. Okay. This morning was awesome.
The lunch money winner is Rian Day Wet, I think.
Yeah. Or Racer 1578.
Racer 1578 said, so.
Who is Rowan Atkinson? I asked who would play you in a movie. Do we know who Rowan Atkinson is?
We should know.
Do you not know? You picked the winner and don't even know?
Oh, no, he was Mr. Bean.
Oh, Mr. Bean. What a great guy. Mr. Bean.
Guy.
Did he get in trouble for child pornography?
Oh, wait, I don't think
Was it him?
No, I don't think so.
Just type that in real quick.
I
just got Polina to type in child pornography on Google.
Oh, no. No, you're wrong. Oh, my God. I can't believe I just typed that in.
If anybody out there just saw what I just got her to do.
Okay. So he says, man, I just like to make people laugh. Thanks for the show. Never miss an episode.
I apologize for doing that.
Oh, we're going to have such a conversation.
Your ads that are going to track you around the internet.
I got a warning. I got something yelled at me.
Listen, I'm going to send over $100. I appreciate you guys doing that. We had a great laugh at all of the different tweets. Go ahead and tell your story to wrap this up. We already are out of time, but go ahead.
Okay. So this morning.
They don't need to know what we were doing. Just tell them we were talking to somebody in the city government.
Well, how am I going to
see how I got the profile shirt on trying to win some
we were Zooming with somebody in City Hall in New York City.
It was for a marriage license.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're trying to get our marriage license that we've been trying to get for months now. Successfully got it today. So the lady is like, okay, I just need to ask you some questions. Polina, have you ever been previously married? I said, no, ma'am, I have not. And then they asked her friend over here if he's been previously married. And what did you say?
I said, I only been married to the game, but I guess that don't really count here.
And she was like, I think she asked me about 100 times, like if I was sure I wanted to.
And then the best part is I knew that Polina was really upset with me because she literally punched me under the table in my leg. So at the very end of the call, I then said to the woman, hey, you've been so kind to us. Would you mind giving us a rating as feedback, like a grade on our performance today on this call with you? You know, A to D, A being the easiest to work with, D being the worst. And she gave us an A. And so now Polina can't complain because I can say, well, listen, the lady thought that we were super easy to work with. She gave us an A grade. So why would you grade me differently than she would?
And we got off that call. And did I grade you?
That's it for Lunch Money today, guys. Your boy is still alive, hanging out, got a haircut. I should be an actor. All right, well, Wall Street's trying to get rich. So that's just trying to get our lunch money right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bang, bang. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Lunch Money as much as we did.
And don't forget, Lunch Money is now sponsored by BlockFi, so go check them out. There's a link in the description that you can click on. I'm an investor, a user, and a huge fan. What?
You're a bigger fan of BlockFi than you are of me?
BlockFi is my second favorite thing in the world behind Polina. They've got 3 products. They can give you a US dollar loan. You can earn up to 8.6% interest on an interest-bearing account, or you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies on their crypto exchange. I personally use the interest-bearing account. There's not very many places where you'll find up to 8.6% interest on a deposit in an interest-bearing account. Go do your own research. There's risk associated, but 8.6% is pretty compelling. So click on the link in the description. Say thanks to the folks at BlockFi. Subscribe to our channel. Like the video. Annoy Polina in the comments. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And be kind to your friends.